contrive to have government TDs designated as members of the opposition. We believe that the government has demonstrated incredible arrogance. They believe clearly that they could come into the Dáil and ride roughshod over the collective opposition. That cannot be the case. They talk a lot about democracy and valuing it, and we share that. We want this place. The people that we represent need this place to work. But for it to work, there has to be a clear understanding of the roles of government and opposition respectively. The government have known that their attempt to have members that support their government who have been party to the programme for government led by Deputy Michael Lowry, to have them designated as members of the opposition was unacceptable and frankly farcical. This matter can be resolved actually very, very easily. It simply requires honesty and integrity from the government, and to make clear that those who support the programme for government, those that support the government, are not opposition TDs. We are all returned here in our respective groups and parties to represent people to the best of our ability, and our first job is to hold the government to account. For that to be a reality, there has to be a respect for and recognition of the role of opposition. What transpired today was farcical, utterly farcical, and it was a mess created by government, and it's one that can be resolved by the government. So we have, this evening, we have come to a collective position. We will write to the leader of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and indeed to the Ceann Comhairle. We wish to have a leaders' meeting. That was what we wished for this evening. When I took to my feet in that last session of the Dáil, that was the request that we were jointly making. That got refused. We're saying to the government again, this needs to get sorted out. And if respect for democracy is the concern, then let's all respect democracy. Let's respect the role of government and the role of opposition too. Ivana?
Thank you. And we stand here as a united group of opposition leaders. There are many differences of policy among our groupings, but what unites us this evening is our fervent belief that we must uphold democracy, that we simply cannot stand over a situation where those TDs who are actively engaged in supporting and constructing a programme for government can somehow also be designated as opposition TDs. It's simply not tenable. It's a chaotic situation, and the chaos we saw today, which has dismayed everyone, that's a chaos of the government's own making. And it's a chaos and a farce which the government has within their power to fix. As opposition leaders, we've come together, we've agreed a text, we've agreed a statement that will go to the leaders of the two biggest government parties and that will go to the Ceann Comhairle. And we believe this matter can be resolved so that we can get on with the business of the Dáil, with the business of representing the communities that so badly need change and who we have been elected to represent. We want to get on with business. We absolutely want to do so. But the government's actions and the purported designation of government TDs as opposition TDs, that is undermining of democracy. And that belief, that is what unites us today. Cian?
Yeah. All of us are united in our position that we want to see this resolved. What happened in the Dáil today should never have happened. It should never have come to this. It's easily resolved if the government simply recognised what is clear to everybody in the street, that TDs that are supporting the government are government TDs and they should be facilitated in government time. So we want to see this resolved quickly. The offer of a meeting of party leaders this afternoon to resolve this, it's unfortunate that the leaders of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael did not take us up on that offer. We'd asked them to meet with us, get this resolved so we can get on with the formation of a new government.
Michael?
Yeah, the very word democracy is at question here. Are we going to support a situation we're a party that have fully, and have said it in the last week on numerous occasions, want to fully support the government, no want to be in opposition. Nowhere in the world would that be accepted. And why should it be accepted in the Irish Republic? We surely owe it to the people that democratically elected us to have an opposition, and a very clear opposition here, and also have a government party here. We have not refused, remember this, we have not refused the regionals the right to speak from within government time, the government that they want to support, and that's their choice, and that's democracy from their side. But unfortunately, they want their bread buttered on both ends, and it can't work. Democracy has to stand here. I spend all day in business meetings with other colleagues here, trying to create a solution. As a matter of fact, the independent group put forward one solution where we took 2 people from the regional group onto our group. That was a move in a direction to create a solution. Others need to create solutions here, but the Taoiseach refuses to meet, the Taoiseach refuses to meet, the Count Corla needs to meet. We all need to pull ourselves together here before tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and create a solution here. But there is only one solution as far as we're concerned. A group that supports government goes in to government speaking slots and not opposition speaking slots. Other than that, democracy is a serious question here in this country.
Mary Lou.
Sorry, Richard. Sorry.
Yeah. The government, Michael Lowry and his group and the Healy Rays are trying to subvert and sabotage democracy and undermine the role of the opposition to hold the government to account. It is simply preposterous for Michael Lowry, who is the chief negotiator for the regional group, to install a government, to write a programme for government, to endorse that programme for government, to pretend he's in the opposition. And it is absolutely remarkable that Simon Harris and Micheál Martin are allowing Michael Lowry and the Healy Rays to sabotage the democratic process and seem to be willing to die in a ditch for Michael Lowry and the Healy Rays in order that they can have a foot on both sides of the camp. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't only undermine the opposition, it makes a mockery of the government themselves, that they have people who are in government who are also trying to claim they're in the opposition. It's a joke, everybody can see it, and they could resolve this very, very quickly. The debacle we had today could be resolved very, very quickly if the government simply say, or Michael Lowry and the government say, we will take our time as part of the government speaking time. Instead, they have caused this disruption and made a mockery, really, of the democratic system. And even at this late stage, we call on them now to desist and simply acknowledge what everybody knows to be true, that Michael Lowry and his group and the Healy Rays are part of this government.
What happens tomorrow if this is not sorted tomorrow? What happens if this is not sorted tomorrow? Are you going to cause similar scenes in the Dáil? Are we going to have another day where the Dáil is suspended 3-4 times? We don't have any nomination of the Taoiseach. What is the plan?
Well, certainly our objective is not disruption for its own sake. We have stated our position very clearly, and to rehearse it again, TDs who support the programme for government and government are opposition TDs, and they need to be afforded their rights in the Dáil as such. That's the position. This needs to get sorted out tonight.
Yeah, but if it's not sorted out tonight, and if we're having another situation where the government says, we told you what we were going to do, Hildegard Naughton said it during the meeting you had earlier with all the whips. She's laid out the position. If there's no change...
There has to be a change in that position, Louise.
If there's no change, Mary Lou, what is going to happen tomorrow?
Well,
are you going to obstruct the nomination of Taoiseach again?
We will stand firm collectively in saying to the government that we want clarity now, from this moment, that those TDs that back the government, that have been part of the programme for government crafting, are government TDs. It's as simple as that. It is not a big ask. It is utterly farcical that we are standing here this evening on the plinth in the rain making such a basic, fundamental point. As opposition leaders, we could not countenance, we wouldn't be doing our job. We would be letting the electorate down. We would actually be failing the Irish democratic process if we did not take a firm stance like this. And we are absolutely resolute. We also know that this matter can be resolved. So we are writing again to Micheál Martin, to Simon Harris, to the Count Corla, urging that clarity is given, that everybody who wishes to avail of speaking time plays their full role in the Dáil. There's no issue there. But those of us that are in opposition to hold the government to account, that we are allowed to do that job unencumbered. And those that support government, who have made that decision, that they support the government and they exercise their rights from the government time and government benches.
Merely, we heard from the Taoiseach Taoiseach earlier, who said that the call about membership of the technical group is not up to them, it's up to the Ceann Comhairle. She's made her call, but that they were prepared to facilitate Dáil reform starting tonight. So if they'd only gotten through today's business, they could have started the discussions on changing the rules to avert this whole thing permanently.
Listen, Gavin, the government have known that this was an issue. They've known for a week. They have been told clearly time and time again that the clarity as to who is in opposition and who is in government, that clarity needs to be provided now. That's no surprise to them. And I frankly think that the commentary that they have made about today are comments of bad faith. They know exactly what's happened here. This was a try-on. This was a ruse, and they believed that they could ramrod this through the Dáil. They can't do that. We are the parties and the elected representatives of the opposition. We have to be allowed to do our job, and we will not allow things to be simply forced through the Dáil in that heavy-handed and very arrogant way. The government can sort this out. We are urging them. Indeed, we are appealing to them to sort this out tonight.
Adam, alluded to it just there. The Taoiseach and the Taoiseach came out tonight and attempted to portray what happened today as purely Sinn Féin obstructionism, and they used the word subversion, saying democracy had been subverted for the first time in 100 years.
By them.
What is your reaction?
Well, I think name calling by the government is not a good look, given what we've all witnessed today. And I think your answer is here. We're standing. I'm the leader of Sinn Féin. We have the leader of the Labour Party, the Social Democrats, the Independents, Independent Ireland, People Before Profit, and I know beyond that others, everybody on the opposition benches feels the same way. And we are not seeking simply to disrupt, but we will absolutely assert our rights as the opposition and do the job that we are elected to do, that we are required to do for democracy to work. The subversion of democracy is trying to pretend that you can be in government and in opposition at the same time. That is a clear and patent absurdity.
Maybe from Ivana Mary was kind of addressed this already. But there is no resolution tonight. You say there needs to be a resolution tonight, but how long will the opposition keep up this stance? Will you go in tomorrow and acceptable with the government as barracking the Ceann Comhairle to prevent the election of Taoiseach? How long is it going to keep going on?
Well, as we've said, this mess is of the government's making. It's a mess that they can resolve, they can fix. We're sending them a text tonight, an agreed text from all 5 opposition leaders. It invites them to provide government speaking time to TDs who are government TDs. We believe that's an appropriate and indeed a democratic way of resolving this. We've, throughout the day, engaged constructively through our whips, through the whips meeting, through proposing a whips meeting and a meeting of the Business Committee. Indeed, this evening I proposed directly to the leaders of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael that we would have a leaders' meeting to resolve this, and they refused that request. They need to sort this out. None of us want to see any further delays or any further disruption. We're dismayed by this. It should never have come to this. But the government have brought this about, and they need to fix this, and we're offering them a way of fixing this too.
Do you think that the method employed by forcing the adjournment of the Dáil, do you think that's proportionate to the issue at hand? Do you think the general public is feeling that way?
Yes, I do think it is proportionate, and just bear in mind, had there been a cooperative stance from government, then this matter could have been resolved. I think you would concede, or perhaps you wouldn't, but in your own mind, it is hardly controversial to state that government TDs and those supporting government fulfil one role And those of us that are opposition TDs and representatives who are charged with holding that government to account serve a completely different function. That is a simple statement of basic common sense and basic democratic norms. If the government... Pardon me?
Is a row over Dáil speaking time?
But you see, it's not just about it's not about simply speaking time. This is about the definition of the opposition. This is about the capacity and the mechanisms for holding the government to account. So you cannot have government supporting TDs posturing as members of the opposition. That makes a farce of the whole notion of holding a government to account. This is an important matter. We would not be standing here collectively but for the fact that this is absolutely fundamental, and we have to get it right from the get-go. This has to be gotten right now.
Do you have confidence in Verona Murphy as County Cork?
I think what we saw unfold was really unedifying. It was her first day. I think that the resolution of these matters lies with government in the first instance, and we do rely on the Ceann Comhairle to defend the rights of every elected representative to the... I'm not happy with anything that happened today. I'm really unhappy with everything that happened today, and we don't want to repeat of it tomorrow, but we will stand by our position. We are resolute on that point. We want clarity. We want the government to concede that clarity, and the Ceann Comhairle to confirm that procedurally that distinction between government and opposition will be respected and applied.
Andrew?
Mary Lou, it was said by earlier that you went to the Clerk of the Dáil to basically say that a deal that had been reached between the whips was essentially a non-runner anymore. Is that true?
There was no deal reached. There were discussions that were to be brought back to the individual groups and parties. There was unfortunately no agreement reached. As a matter of fact, I was doing the Ceann Comhairle and the clerk the courtesy of alerting to him the fact that when the session resumed that I would take to my feet and other opposition leaders to request a further adjournment so that the party leaders could meet. That's actually what happened.
So would you agree, do you think that the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are lying about that? They said that there wasn't agreement reached.
Pardon me?
Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael lying then?
There was no agreement reached. That's a misrepresentation of the facts.
They said you were an agent on agreement.
No, there was no. That's not true.
Can we get
Padraig McLaughlin was on the scene, so.
Yeah. Just to be clear, the Dáil clerk Peter Finnegan tried to resolve the matter today, and repeatedly we asked the government, and indeed Michael Lowry, who was present for the first meeting, he was doing a press conference here where the second meeting was ongoing, and we asked him, for God's sake, will you just acknowledge that Michael Lowry is a government TD?